Hey, what's up? Andrew Kramer here for VideoCopilot.net, and welcome to another exciting tutorial. Today we're going to take a look at some of the more in-depth features of Twitch, some of the things we didn't show you in sort of the promo version of the overview. So this one we're going to take a look at all the little features, not just the cool hip ones that all your friends are talking about, but all the little ones that make everything work. So I have some footage here of Sam, and I'm going to go ahead and apply Twitch, Effect, Video Copilot, Twitch. Now, we're just going to go down the line here and just go over them, and we'll see where that takes us. So, first we have the amount, and that is our multiplier for how much Twitch. And then we have the speed, is how many twitches per second. Then we have the enable operators function, so we can turn these on, we can turn them off, and let's go and just turn a couple of them on, and we see over here things are happening. Now, sometimes you'll be on a frame that isn't twitching, so you may not see anything happening. That's okay, just go to a frame that is twitching, and you can make adjustments there. Now, we have the behavior option. Now, this is sort of an advanced kind of option that allows you to control some of the different internal parameters. So the ease in, ease out, that's going to smooth the twitch. So let me just shut a couple of them off, and here we just have the light. Now if I set the ease to 0 and the ease out to 0, what we're going to see is single frame flashing. So it turns on, turns off. Let's see. Basically, it's going to have a single point of intensity. Now, if we turn on the ease, then it's going to kind of smooth into each of these. And not all the time, but basically it's just going to make for some gradual twitches. Usually, that's what you want, but sometimes you want to maybe make it ease in to 0 and then fade out maybe for 2, like a camera flash where it gets bright really quick and then slowly fades out. Might be something you want to do. So that's what that's for. We'll go ahead and set it back to 1 and 1. Now we have our border option. Now this is a very important option, and I think I should probably cover it a little bit later. We have the show Twitch only option, and that way you turn it on and all the frames that aren't twitching show up as transparent. And what that allows you to do is overlay this onto another piece of video. For example, if I were just to put some footage into the background here, what will happen is only the layers that twitch are going to show up. So, for example, say I wanted to create a flashback sequence that was really intense and was scary, as a child or something like that. You can take your video of your character and then all of a sudden things flash on real quick and they go away. And so that's sort of what this allows you to do, sort of create that flashback look and composite twitch with other pieces of video. So that's the show Twitch only. I'll go and shut that off. We have our random seed. So say you just want something different, just change this number and the twitching will completely change. So depending on what this number is, different things are going to happen. So default's at 0. Don't randomize. What that does is makes every value the same. Now of course there's going to be differential because of the ease in and the ease out, but for things that don't change, basically this allows your twitches to be the same intensity every single time. Just move along here. We'll start with the blur operator. I'll turn that on. And I know we went over this a little bit before, but let's just take a look at each individual operator. So we have the amount, and the amount is tied to the global amount up here. Basically, whatever this is 250% of it. So if we set this back to 100%, then we're getting 100% of what it is currently. And basically that just allows you to turn them all down or fade them all out with one single switch. So that's kind of a nice way to control it. We can also set blur twitches per second for the individual operator of the blur. So say you want your blur to be 2 times per second, you want your light to be 4 times per second. You can give each individual operator their own speed here. Now we have the tint, which allows you to colorize. We have the holdout, which is like a threshold. You can see it only affects the brighter areas. Now we also have the holdout sharpness, and what that does is allows you to make more of a distinction between the bright and the dark areas. So in this case, the more intense this is, the less feathered your threshold selection is going to be. And so depending on what you're, if you want it to be smooth and blend well, you may want to keep it low. But if you want it to only come from those bright areas, you can increase that sharpness. Now we have the boost, which just allows you to push it beyond what it is currently. We also have, let's see, blur opacity, so you can bring it down or up. Transfer mode, all the normal stuff. We got some of the popular ones in here. We're going to go over what this none transfer mode does a little bit later, but that's another important thing that you're going to want to know about. Then we have the aspect ratio, and that just lets you set the blur to either up and down or side to side. So depending on what you want to do there, that can be a pretty helpful option. So set that back to 0. Normal. Now we have the use lens blur. So you turn that on, and what you're going to get is sort of just a more realistic film-like lens blur. And it does take a little bit longer to render, but if you have the time, it definitely looks nice. So that is that. And then we have the unique blur seed. And all the parameters have this, and basically that allows you to set it to a unique pattern. For example, if the twitches are all set to 1, so if you don't change the speed down here, all of the operators will sync together and happen at the same time. But say you want the speed to be essentially the same. You want 5 twitches per second, but you don't necessarily want them to happen at the same time. Then you just turn on the unique blur seed, and what that will do is just randomize just this operator's speed so that it happens at a random time. Color, turn that on. This one's pretty straightforward, amount and speed. We also have the colorize and the randomness. So if you set this to like blue, turn the randomness up just a bit, you'll see you'll get a few different colors, but that are pretty close to that blue. And if you increase it a lot, then you're going to see a much wider spectrum of colors, like red and, let's see, we'll turn the speed up so we can see more things happening. But that's that. Color randomness, we'll turn that back down, and then again the unique color seed to sort of separate this from the other operators if you want. Light. We have the light amount and the light behavior. So you can make the lightness go darker or brighter or both, and just kind of randomly picks those. Scale. Scale's got a few cool things in here. You have the amount. Now the motion blur is set to off by default, but you can just increase that if you want to see that motion blur as the twitches are going through. Just takes a little bit longer to render. You also have origin randomness, so if you change this, it'll kind of randomly zoom into different areas and kind of create some cool stuff there. And again, the other operators here, like changing the position, etc. Moving on, slide. One of my favorites. We have the slide amount and the twitches, so amount and speed essentially. Now, this is something that we really wanted to incorporate, but I do want to kind of explain how it works. And basically, we have the direction of the slide. Now, it is random, meaning it's going to do a bunch of different stuff. But say you have this random frame. Well, you can offset it simply by changing the direction. Now, that's good because, say on certain frames, you just want a certain thing happening. This allows you control over that. But more than that, the slide spread. What that does is consider this spread 360 degrees. So at 1, it's going to randomly pick a direction in a 360 degree spin. Now, if you turn this down to 0.5, then it's just going to pick 180 degrees. So we're only going to see directions from here to about here on the spectrum. Now if we turn that all the way down to 0, all we're going to get is up and down slide. And then if we change the direction, you're only going to get that particular direction. So if we go 90 degrees, then we're just going to go left and right. The tendency means, the tendency to go that way or go the other way. So if you turn this up, it's only going to slide to the right. So you'll see here, it's only going to the right. So depending on what you want to do, if you wanted to do like a film gate that only breaks to the right, then you can change the tendency here. And then also if you go -1, it just goes to the opposite direction. But you could obviously just change the direction to that direction as well. So that's that. We have the RGB split, which is going to randomly split the color channels and create a really cool tearing effect. And the motion blur, turn that up and turn that down, and you can just get some different effects that way. So pretty cool stuff. Turn off the slide and we'll turn the time on. Time is just going to randomly pick frames of the video and display them, just in twitching times. And you have the amount of time to essentially go forward or go back. So like, say you only want to go forward or go back a couple of frames, well, you want to maybe lower this depending on how much you want to change the time of the video. Then we also have whether or not you want to just look forward or just look backwards. So that's that. Let's go and take a look at a couple of those other things that we skipped over. What I'm going to do is take this Twitch transparent box, bring it out to my comp. So basically just a box of our product, and I'm going to choose Effect, Video Copilot, Twitch. I'm going to turn the slide on, and we'll turn up the amount so that we can kind of see what's happening. So as you can see, we're getting some sort of a weird anomaly, but basically what's happening is it's rendering to the bounds of the layer. Now this will happen also if you add a text layer and add Twitch to it with the same settings. You're going to just get the bounds kind of cutting off. Now that's a normal thing to happen because we usually want our video effects to stay on the layer. But in this case, maybe we want them to extend. So if I go to the behavior, I can change my option to expand. And so now what's going to happen is it's just going to extend out and render beyond that render area, and everything will work normally. So whenever you're working with text, just make sure to change this to expand. And while we're here, we can go over the other ones. We have ignore, which is going to cut it off when it gets to the bounds, and it won't repeat the edges around from the other side. There's also tile, which will repeat them in a tile fashion instead of a mirror fashion. And that's actually more for working with video. If I turn our slide on, and I'm going to turn the motion blur off so that we can see. It is off, and just increase this a bit. Turn off the split, and let's see. Okay, so right here I'm on a twitched frame that's really intense, but you can see what's happening is when it moves over, it's mirroring the edge of the video. But you can also set it to tile, and it will just tile it. So depending on what you're going for, like if this was up and down and we wanted to pretend this was like a film projector, we'd want to maybe tile the image so that it seems like the next frame is kind of butting into this frame. So in this case, maybe expand would be the best option, and we can kind of twitch it around here and composite it correctly. So as you can see, there's a lot of features in Twitch, a lot of control over what you want to happen. So use them for what they are. Use them for things we haven't even thought of. Be creative, be experimental, try different combinations of effects, and come up with some cool things. Twitching is such a cool thing, and I hope you guys use it and have fun with it. So my name's Andrew Kramer, and thanks for buying Twitch, and I hope you enjoy it.